In the fall of 2016, I found myself working as a subcontractor for a septic tank company. It was a job that brought me face to face with the darkest depths of human waste. Little did I know that one particular assignment would plunge me into a terrifying encounter that defied all reason. It began with a call from an elderly couple who had recently purchased a dilapidated farmhouse, shrouded in mystery and forgotten by time. The house, rumored to have been inhabited by notorious serial killers, had been abandoned since 1960. Neglected and forsaken, the septic tank beneath it had never been serviced since its installation in 1940. The tale of the couple's dark legacy loomed in the shadows of the property, filling my heart with a foreboding unease. As the evening descended, I arrived at the property, ready to undertake the gruesome task of cleaning the long-neglected septic tank. The company insisted that the work be completed overnight to appease the eager and wealthy new homeowners. A sense of isolation washed over me as I prepared to descend into the depths of this haunted ground, armed only with my equipment and a wavering sense of bravery. I began excavating a hole over the supposed location of the tank's lid, shrouded in darkness and the distant howling of the wind. The lid creaked open, releasing a putrid stench that clawed at my throat. Oblivious to the terrors that lay beneath, I inserted the hose, commencing the task at hand. But fate had other plans, sinister and unfathomable. Midway through the cleaning process, the hose abruptly clogged, choking on the weight of hidden horrors. Oblivious to the impending nightmare, I donned extra gloves and reached into the dark abyss to unclog the obstruction. A sickening realization swept over me as my fingers closed around a rotting, decomposed limb, an arm tainted by the sins of the past. Horror and panic coursed through my veins as I fumbled for my phone, summoning the police to this scene of unspeakable malevolence. I relayed the ghastly discovery to the company, who ordered me to halt my work until the authorities arrived. Hours crawled by in the desolate landscape, their passage marked only by the distant wailing of the wind. With the arrival of the police, their flashlights sliced through the enveloping darkness, revealing the true depths of the nightmare that had unfolded. They erected a foreboding crime scene investigation tent, shrouding the tainted ground in an atmosphere of dread. I was dismissed for the night, left stranded in the desolate wilderness with no vehicle and no signs of life for miles. And as I stood there, bearing witness to the depths of human depravity, I knew that I would forever carry the weight of that horrifying encounter, a burden that would eternally remind me of the insidious horrors that lie hidden in the most unexpected places. During that fateful summer, I embarked on a conservation project that took me to the desolate heart of Wyoming. Our crew was tasked with building hiking and biking trails in the backcountry, deep within a designated wilderness area. It was a high-altitude desert, far removed from civilization, where tracks left in the sandy soil seemed to last forever. We had set up camp in a remote location, isolated from any signs of human habitation. For 2 weeks, we toiled under the scorching sun, working on manual labor that machines couldn't reach. The nearest town, with only 41 residents, lay 2 hours away by car, a testament to the solitude and desolation of the surroundings. It was during the middle of our stint, in the dead of night, that an eerie incident unfolded. The rest of the crew had retreated to their tents, seeking respite from the day's labor. I, however, chose to stay awake a while longer, indulging in the solace of reading. The darkness enveloped the camp, with clouds obscuring the stars, and my headlamp served as the sole source of light for miles around. Suddenly, the tranquility was shattered by the sound of footsteps prowling around our camp, moving toward the tents from my position in the community tent. An icy shiver raced down my spine, raising the hairs on my arms, and a surge of adrenaline flooded my veins. Instinctively, I knew something was terribly amiss. This person did not carry a light to navigate, and the footsteps were not approaching from the direction of the tents, but rather the opposite. In a matter of seconds, I dropped my book, leaped to my feet, and turned the corner of the tent, shining my light onto the slumbering tents. To my horror, The sound ceased, but a chilling sight greeted me, the unmistakable imprints of tracks etched into the dirt. They meandered through the camp, originating from one end, peering into my tent, passing through the other sleeping tents, and finally disappearing into the wilderness. The realization struck me like a thunderbolt. My mind raced to process the implications of the tracks before me. They were eerily identical to my own boots, except for one crucial detail, the absence of a rock wedged in my treads that had disrupted the symmetry. These were damn near perfect replicas of my size 15 double-wide boots, a rare find among the crew. There was no rational explanation for this discovery. It couldn't have been one of my fellow crew members. The eerie incident left us shaken to the core. Sleep evaded us that night, our minds consumed by unanswerable questions and lingering fear. In the following days, a light rain washed away the tracks, but the memory of those prints haunted us. None of us dared to step upon them, choosing instead to avoid them like cracks in a cursed sidewalk. From that night onward, we heard and saw no further signs of the intruder. The incident remained an unsettling enigma, a chilling reminder that even in the vast expanse of nature, there are secrets that defy explanation, leaving us to wonder what malevolent presence had trespassed upon our isolated sanctuary. Before we continue, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. October 23, 1987, is forever etched in my memory as the night I encountered the chilling horrors that plagued Willow Lake. I can still feel the icy grip of fear that wrapped around my heart as I recount the harrowing tale of my encounter with the lake. It was a day like any other when I decided to venture out alone for a peaceful day of fishing. The lake, nestled deep within a remote corner of the countryside, was a picture of serenity. Its glassy waters reflected the surrounding foliage, creating a picturesque scene that belied the dark secrets lurking beneath. Oblivious to the sinister nature of this seemingly idyllic place, I cast my line and settled into a state of quiet solitude. As the sun began its descent and the shadows grew longer, a subtle shift in the atmosphere filled me with unease. The gentle ripples on the surface of the lake transformed into sinister waves, and an unnatural stillness settled over the air. It was as if the very essence of the place held its breath, waiting for the terror to unfold. A chill wind whispered through the trees, sending shivers down my spine. I glanced around, a flicker of paranoia gripping my senses. My eyes caught a glimpse of movement beneath the water's surface, a brief flash of something inhuman. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end, and an inexplicable sense of dread washed over me. As darkness cloaked the surroundings, a haunting melody floated on the breeze, a melody that seemed to echo from the depths of the lake itself. Its ethereal notes resonated with sorrow and despair, drawing me closer to the water's edge against my better judgment. Driven by an inexplicable compulsion, I kneeled at the water's edge, my fingers grazing the glassy surface. Suddenly, the water stirred, and a translucent figure emerged from its depths. It was the visage of a woman, her ghostly form draped in a tattered gown that swirled around her ethereal frame. Her mournful eyes bore into mine, filled with a longing that chilled me to the bone. She beckoned me, her voice a haunting whisper that penetrated my very being. Her tale unfolded in my mind, a tale of tragedy and betrayal, of a life lost and a soul condemned to wander these dark waters for eternity. As her ghostly fingers brushed against mine, a surge of frigid energy coursed through my veins. Her sorrow and anguish consumed me, threatening to drown me in a sea of despair. I gasped for air, fighting against the spectral grip that sought to pull me under, back into the depths of the lake's cursed embrace. Summoning every ounce of strength, I tore myself away from the water's edge, stumbling backward. The haunting melody grew louder, a symphony of anguish that reverberated through my very core. I ran, my heart pounding, the ghostly cries echoing in my ears as I fled from the haunted lake. To this day, I bear the scars of that encounter. The haunting melody lingers in my nightmares, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of seemingly peaceful places. During my college years, I found solace in the embrace of the dense woods that surrounded my secluded university. Eager to share the wonder of the wilderness, I invited a friend to embark on an ambitious backpacking trip along the treacherous Loyalsock Trail, a journey that would push our limits both physically and mentally. The trail spanned over 50 miles, winding through the untamed wilderness of Pennsylvania. We were prepared for the challenges that awaited us, but little did we know that the true terror would come not from the rugged landscape but from an encounter with something far more sinister. As we ventured deeper into the trail, our surroundings grew increasingly desolate. The dense undergrowth and towering trees created an eerie atmosphere that seemed to swallow the sounds of civilization. We pressed on, determined to conquer the wilderness that lay before us. Our journey took us further and further away from the comforts of civilization, until the nearest town was nothing more than a fading memory, a mere whisper in the wind. It was during the early hours of the second night when we made camp in a remote clearing. The darkness enveloped us, punctuated only by the feeble glow of our flashlights. A sense of isolation settled upon us, accentuated by the overwhelming silence that clung to the air. I pitched my tent on the outskirts of the campsite, seeking a small semblance of solitude amidst the vast unknown. As the night wore on, strange occurrences began to unsettle me. The whispering wind carried eerie voices that seemed to echo through the dense forest. Their hushed words were indistinguishable, yet filled me with a sense of dread. I wondered if it was merely the sound of the breeze rustling through the leaves, but something deep within me knew that it was something more malevolent. Seeking respite from the unnerving whispers, I retreated to the solace of my tent. But sleep eluded me. I lay there, listening to the nocturnal symphony of the wilderness when the tranquility was shattered by the sound of footsteps drawing near. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end as a surge of adrenaline coursed through my veins. These were not the sounds of wildlife or fellow hikers. They were deliberate and purposeful, sending chills down my spine. I cautiously unzipped my tent, revealing the shadowy figures approaching our camp. They moved silently, their presence emanating an air of malevolence. Panic gripped me as I realized they were not like any hikers I had encountered before. Their forms were shrouded in darkness, their faces obscured by the night. A profound sense of danger engulfed me, urging me to remain hidden and pray that they would pass without noticing our presence. But my friend, overwhelmed by a mix of curiosity and fear, peered out from his tent. In a futile attempt to communicate, he asked why they had ventured so deep into the wilderness at such an ungodly hour. The figures remained silent, their unnerving gaze fixed upon us. Their eyes, void of humanity, seemed to penetrate the depths of our souls. The stillness was shattered by a voice, as cold and chilling as the night itself. "We have come to claim what is rightfully ours," one of them hissed, their words resonating with a sinister power. It was then that I noticed their hands, gnarled and weathered as if marked by centuries of darkness. Fear overwhelmed reason as my friend desperately offered them food. Without a word, they accepted the meager offering, devouring it with an unsettling hunger. Their actions were mechanical, devoid of any semblance of humanity. It was as if they were mere vessels, driven by a malevolent force. Summoning every ounce of courage, I implored them to leave, to retreat into the darkness from whence they came. But they remained, their haunting presence lingering like a nightmare. It was then that I understood the truth: they were not merely lost souls or deranged wanderers. They were something far more insidious, something that defied comprehension. As dawn broke, casting an ethereal glow upon the surrounding forest, they finally departed. Yet, their departure brought no solace. It only deepened the unease that had settled upon our hearts. The capricious veil between the natural and supernatural had been lifted, revealing a darkness that resided within the woods. Since that fateful encounter, I have never returned to the Loyalsock trail. The memory of those haunting whispers and the malevolent figures that stalked our campsite is forever etched in my mind, a chilling reminder that there are forces lurking in the wilderness far more terrifying than the untamed beauty that captivates our souls.